This is definitely a white pill overall. The response from the rest of the country, people outside of New Mexico, I think is probably the thing that is most impactful to me. I don't personally trust Ted Lieu or David Hogg to actually have much of a stomach for supporting individual rights and stuff like that, honestly. But at the same time, the fact that they spoke up was good. The fact that the AG won't defend her is very, very good. The fact that the mayor was against it as well, that's very, very good. Firearms Policy Coalition, they're on X, they're at Gun Policy, and you should definitely follow them. You should probably become a member as well. They did a really good job of live tweeting it today. And inside the courtroom, the judge just didn't have much patience for the arguments being made by the state. The fact is, the Bruen case is essentially a nuclear weapon when it comes to the right to keep and bear arms. Bruen found that, you have the right to keep and bear. You can keep it on you and carry it with you. And it's not a second class right. The way that the way that administrations had treated the Second Amendment up until Bruen is that it wasn't actually a right. It was a privilege. And the Bruen case has made it clear that that is not acceptable. And the judge today specifically said that Bruen has made it clear that we do not have the right to interpret the law. The law is as it says, that the right to keep and bear arms isn't going to be infringed. It's outside of the purview of the federal and consequently the state governments, because the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. So it's outside of the purview of any government to say you can't have a gun to carry on you, barring a due process.
I think the next victory we need to make is, I don't know how we do it because it's going to require the Supreme Court, but I have no problem saying this. I have no legal experience. None. Did not go to law school. I've only been in court a handful of times, and the Supreme Court justices are wrong on the ability of a state to require a permit. The right shall not be infringed. Yeah. If I am required to pay money in order to get permission from the government, permit, then they've infringed my rights.
Yeah.
And this is Kavanaugh, who said, well, they can require permits, but they can't use it as a shield and to manipulate. Basically, what was happening was these states were saying, yes, you can get a gun, just fill out this permit. And then they crumple it up and throw it in the garbage. They were using it as a way to block you from getting guns. They said, no, if you take the form, you have to issue the permit. They're still trying to find loopholes. New Jersey's loophole was you have to have proof of some kind of threat, and you have to have a reason why the threat exists. So it's like you have to be rich or famous, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't this, though, be kind of where they try to use the elastic clause and, they start to really sort of massage the firmness of the rule of shall not be infringed and what a well-regulated means? Because we've seen them play fast and loose with terms and definitions in the past. We've seen them do this and say, oh, no, well-regulated means you've got to have these many stipulations on it and you can only have this. And, they weren't talking about these pew-pews. They were talking about these pew-pews. And it's just kind of like this new school of law and interpretation of law that we have going is set up to where people can take dubious and, sort of nebulous language and twist it into how they want it. And that's what's coming out of law schools now, are lawyers that love to play fast and loose with definitions. And they're what the Constitution, what the people back in the day would call loose constructionists.
There was actually a judge who refused to rule on what a woman was, and because the argument was that in today's context, woman could mean many different things. No, there was a reason we passed a law. And how we describe it doesn't matter because we know what the law is intending to do.